Okay, so on this one, it tells us that we're factoring by grouping and get these 4 terms. All right, so what's the first step on every factoring problem? We ask if there's anything in common. Is there anything common? Do all 4 terms share something common? Like, is there a number? Let's see, we could divide this by 3, but 70 doesn't divide by 3, it'd be some kind of crazy decimal. So they're not divisible by a number. How about letter? Do they all have an X? No, the 70 doesn't have any letters at all. So no, in this case, no, nothing in common. So we're going to skip the one big parenthesis step. And so we're going to go on to the second step. What to do for 4 terms? For 4 terms, step 2 here. Get that better. For 4 terms, we do a 2-2 split. We do a 2-2 split. Right, we got to break it up. Now, I'm going to do first 2, last 2. It's not going to work. Watch it fail. Don't write it down, but watch it fail. It's not going to work. If I try to do these first 2, what do they have in common? Nothing in common. The first 2 have nothing in common. I can't do that. There's nothing in common. The back 2 I could do. I could take an X out, I guess. Plus 7X. Yeah, the X, that boom, boom, right? They both have an X. That would work for the back 2. But for the front 2, it just doesn't work. So you can't do that. So doesn't work. Rearrange. That's what's special on this one. You have to rearrange the terms. Well, how so? Well, it just sort of depends from problem to problem. They can give you all kinds of different ways. Do you see how it'd be good to put this one right here next to that one? Because these 2 guys both have X and Y in common. You see how that is? So I'm going to put 3x squared y plus 10xy, and then I'll switch it with the 70. You see that? It's better to put these 2 together. Why? Because they both have the y. So I needed to rearrange. So the first 2 have something in common, and the last 2 also have stuff in common, right? You've got to make it so the first 2 and the last 2 have stuff in common. Now do the 2-2, first 2, last 2. It's what we always do for 4 terms, first 2, last 2. So what do these first 2 now have in common? Well, they both have X and Y, don't they? So you can take an X and a Y out of the first 2. Okay, and then you just put inside whatever works. XY times what? That'd be 3x, right? Do you see that so far? 3x, xy times 3x is 3x squared y, because the invisible 1 powers on the x's add. Plus, and then what goes here? That'll be 10, won't it? Are you seeing that? XY times 10 is 10xy. Okay, and now the back 2, bring this plus sign that's in the middle down. What do these 2 have in common? Oh, yeah, I was going to say nothing. I'm not seeing it. Yeah, they do have in common 7. Yes, they do. 7, right? If you divide by 7 and divide by 7, it's 10 and 3. So you're going to put a 7 in the front. Okay. And now 7 times 10, right? And 7 times 3. And you got to put the x there also, right? 7 times 3x. We'll go back to 21x. Good there. Now, are we done? Can we stop here? No, we're not done, because we have this plus sign outside of parentheses. Let me write a note on that. You cannot stop because plus outside of parentheses. I don't know if you've noticed, whenever we're done factoring, every final answer, all the pluses and minuses are contained in parentheses. Look back for a second. Let me prove it to you. See, number 6 we just did, pluses and minuses all contained in parentheses when we're done. Originally, we had one outside of parentheses, right? Number 5 that we did, when we're all done, where's the final answer? Right here, right? All the pluses and minuses contained in parentheses when we're done. So whenever we're done factoring, all the pluses and minuses are contained in parentheses. You're not done if you still have pluses and minuses running loose outside of parentheses. Okay, so we have this plus sign outside of parentheses. So we're not done. We have more work to do. Now, notice, and not only does that tell us we're not done, that signals us how we should look at this expression. What do I mean? That's the separator, right? So we should look at it and say, oh, this is one term. Better job on that. One term and a second term. That's how we should be visualizing it. There's two terms. And notice, what do they have in common? In fact, let me rewrite it just so we can see it in the same order. See how this one has 3x plus 10 and this has 10 plus 3x? Those are the same thing. The order doesn't matter, right? And you may think, how do you know there's something? Well, because I know that you know it too. Think about adding two things. Does the order matter? No, it's 5 either way you do it. 3 plus, it's scribbly 5 there. 2 plus 3, 3 plus 2. The order of adding never matters, right? You know that, I know that. So therefore, I can just take this one over here and say, look, whatever, 3x plus 10, 10 plus 3x, or you could turn the first one, it doesn't matter. It's the same thing, right? You could flip the, if it bugs you, flip these guys around. The order of adding doesn't matter. So there we go. Now they exactly match, don't they? So what do you do when they match? Well, imagine if that was a big W. You know what to do at this point, right? If that was XYW plus 7W, what would you do? You go, oh, these two terms both have a W. Put the W in the front, right? Put, plus sign blank and a blank. What would it be? W times XY and W times 7. Exactly. That's exactly right. Here, let me do a better job on that. So if they had a big W in common, again, you would put the W in front, big old parenthesis with the blank and the blank, and W times XY, and W times 7, and you'd be done. But instead of W, it's a what? A parenthesis 3x plus 10, right? That's what they have in common, parenthesis 3x plus 10. So the parenthesis 3x plus 10 can go boom next to XY and boom next to 7. Just like that. And so we're done. See, all the pluses are contained now, and we're done. So what do we need to do? First step on every factoring problem, is there anything in common to all the terms? We said no, we looked for it, but no. Then for 4 terms, you got to do a 2-2 split. We tried first 2, last 2, but the first 2 had nothing in common. So then we have to rearrange if the first 2 don't work. In a 4-termer, you got to do a 2-2. First 2 have nothing in common, got to rearrange. So I switched the order on the middle 2. So that the first 2 have something in common in the last 2. So now the first 2 had XY, the last 2 had 7. And then I swapped the order here, and they had an exact match. One more step, because I had the plus sign outside of parentheses. They had a common element, 3x plus 10, put it in the front, parenthesis 3x plus 10. Remove it, bring down the XY and the 7. There we go. We did it.